You all can ask the questions in the chat box and he will try to address them. Okay, so Avijit, before we start with this, can you give us a little bit introduction about yourself so that we all can get to know you a little bit better?
Yeah, sure. Sure. So, firstly, before I start, I want to tell everyone that this is a very difficult time of COVID. So, get yourself vaccinated as soon as possible so that we can have a normal life again. So, I'm Avijit Roy, as you already know. I did my BTech in mechanical engineering. Then I worked in corporate in TCS for 2 years in Bangalore. Then I joined IIT Kanpur as a MS research student in computer science. So I joined in 2018 and it's been 3 years. I was in like IIT Kanpur, 1.5 year in home and 1.5 year in IIT Kanpur. You know all how it turned out last 2 years. So actually, the thing is, my experience was good. I'll tell once like the interaction starts. So this is up to the point I came to IIT, and then obviously courses went on, thesis went on, and then placement came, and now I'm here in Microsoft. So yeah.
Okay, so you have been selected for ML profile, right?
Yeah.
Can you tell us that like what all companies came last year for this particular profile, and what were their
Okay.
eligibility criteria? Roughly, whatever you can recall, like eligibility criteria, what all departments they allowed, Cgpa criteria, whatever you can recall.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure. So basically, for among big companies, I can remember Microsoft and Flipkart were there. And there are other data scientists, machine learning engineer or data scientists, all are similar. I'm bundling them in one group. And this kind of profile are mostly from the startups. There were many startups, around 10 startups were there, which offered a data science profile. And among big companies, these two were there. Amazon comes sometimes, but last time I don't remember that Amazon came up with this profile. So if we talk about Cgpa criteria, so many of them, like if you have 7.5 plus, so you can consider yourself eligible for most of the companies. So it is not a strict criteria.
Okay, all right. And department wise, like whichever company.
Department wise also there, yeah. So department wise, obviously CSC and the affected ones like mathematics, electrical were eligible for most of them. I don't exactly remember the 4 departments like mechanical, civils were allowed to sit in the profiles like data scientists. But yeah, it keeps changing. Like it depends on who is handling your department, the DPC. Like
Right.
if he can like creep your department in, then department can also be there. So yeah, it depends a lot of factors.
Avijit, can you repeat the last line because like the voice broke?
Yeah, so last I said that it depends on the department placement coordinator. He can actually persuade, if he can persuade the company, then your department can also be eligible. So lot of depends on the placement coordinator you have.
Okay. So what was the common selection procedure for this profile? Like what were the levels?
Common selection. Okay, okay. So actually, mostly they took one data science test, like MCQ test, where they ask data science questions, statistics, probability related questions. And a few companies also took like combined this with some algorithm data structure coding questions. So this was mostly the test. And then obviously in interview round, they can again ask like this kind of questions, coding questions and data science related questions.
Okay. Okay. So even in MLDS profile, they generally ask like they focus more on DS and algo.
No, not really more on, they focus more on data science part only, but that is also integrated part with this data science, like coding. You need to know coding for any software developer, any related profile. You need coding.
Okay. Okay. And like this is the main part that people are looking for. How
Yeah.
did you prepare for your placements, and like how early have you started preparing for it, and roughly how much time did it take?
Okay, so basically, I would like to divide my preparation into two parts, one for data science part and one for software engineering part. So though both are kind of integrated with each other, but I have not really prepared for data science alone because my profile was fully data science throughout 3 years, because I have done courses on data science. I have done many projects on data science. So I didn't have to do much on the data science part. What I required was more of coding. So what I would suggest people to, if you already have data science experience in projects or code, so maybe like what I did, you can focus more on coding part, get yourself accustomed with the coding things, and then like review your whatever you have studied earlier, whatever projects you have done, you can review before, like 1 month before the placements exam or test starts.
Okay. So, and yeah, like what did you experience during Microsoft when you were getting selected for Microsoft? How was the procedure for you, and like what all challenges you faced in that?
Okay, so one interesting thing about Microsoft test. Firstly, I will tell what happened. What are the steps? So there were first initially one test which was purely data science test, MCQ test. There were around 50-60 questions, and no negative marking were there. So this is a very important point. I'll come to that later. And next step was interview directly. After that, after you, like, they selected 5 people among all, and they finally selected 2 people among 5 for the like job. So in interview, they had 2 rounds. First one was fully data science round on experience based, mostly on like case study based, and the second one was a coding round. So pure coding, they have given me on coding and plus HR round. Second one I got. So you might have 3 rounds where coding is different and HR is different. So this was the flow of the interview and test. So one interesting thing about the first test, which was the MCQ and like CPT based, computer based test. So there I read the questions, and it was mostly, I felt like some professor was setting the question, because I did the CS771 course by Piyush Rai sir, and his slides were so good that the question felt like it was coming right out of the slides. So I would suggest all of you to go through that slides, because it was so good that questions were directly coming from the slide. It felt like, I don't know if they have done that or not. And yeah, that's an important point I would like to notice.
Okay, thanks a lot for telling that. And about your interview experience, like how did that go?
Yeah, so interview experience, first round was, as I said, it was study based. What I mean by case study based is they have given me one, suppose Amazon has a rating system, comments, they have comments and they want to rate those comments. So they gave me one case scenario like that and asked me, what would you do in this scenario? What ML algorithm will you put? And if I said that I'll put this ML algorithm, then he said me like, this ML algorithm might have this problem. So how do you tackle that problem? So interview went on like that only. Based on my answer, he gave me that this problem might come. How do tackle this problem? And then at last, one he asked me one, I think, probability question. And whenever people see probability question, they suddenly sweat. Oh, that's a probability question. So that happened to me also, but need not worry. The probability question, you just chill, take your time, take 2-3 minutes to understand the question, and try to tackle it in whatever way you know. At least try to answer. You not necessarily know it at the very first attempt that it will be correct only, but at
Yes.
least try to attempt the question, and I think you will sail through. And if I go to the second round, I was given a coding question, and it was something related to tree. And then after they have asked me to write in a notepad, plain notepad, no ID, nothing. So you need to practice syntax also, which will be like easy one to through like 4 months of coding. So it's not a big deal. And then lastly, she asked me like 4-5 questions on HR based questions, like why you want to join and all those
Okay.
questions.
And like what all resources did you refer to apart from Piyush sir's course?
So apart from pure course for data science, I'll again divide it into two parts: data science and coding questions. So for data science, I took one like differently. Like if you know one topic. Suppose you want to know logistic regression, so go to logistic regression, and you go there. Just in a topic, you get a blog, you get a video. Just watch this video, and you'll be fine.
Sorry, Avijit, I wasn't able to hear you. Your voice is breaking a lot.
Avijit, you can try one thing. You can switch off your video if it is creating a
No,
problem.
yeah. Actually, now I don't hear problem because my broadband was gone, so I was having problem. I think now it should be fine.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. So now it should be fine, right?
Right, right.
Yeah.
Avijit,
Okay. Go
please
on.
repeat the last part that you said regarding the resources that you use.
Yeah. So yeah, what I was saying ki for data science part, you take one item at a time. Like if you already have gone through one data science course, then you must be knowing all the basic concepts. What are the things there? Like you know about logistic regression, you know about deep learning, you know about neural network. So suppose you come to a point where you don't understand a single topic. You go to that topic, you search in the internet, you see videos in YouTube, or maybe read some blogs and try to understand those topics. Don't follow any specific book or any specific website. Yeah, try to tackle it in step-by-step basis. But I would say one thing in data science, they prefer more of like project experience than like bookish knowledge. So if you
Okay.
have more experience, you would be better off for the placement.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So my next question is like, what were the very common topics that you experienced, like for ML related topics that were asked in your interview, and we
Okay.
should focus more on those.
Actually, I would say ki focus more on the basic topics. Don't go very advanced topics, state of the art papers. They don't really ask unless like it's a very specific profile. Like this time, a profile came for computer vision from I think Viman Robotics. So they have asked state of the art. Like from one of my friend was asked this kind of questions. But in general, in this they will never ask you the state of the art questions. They will ask simple logistic regression. They will ask you the loss function, those kind of things. So if you already know basics of machine learning, you just try to sail through. Few companies also ask to like derivation of like SVM, those kind of things, but it's very rare. So try to be very solid about the basics of machine learning. Those are
Okay, the
most important.
derivations are also asked, right?
Yeah, don't get panicked by the derivations, but yeah, try to know at least the small ones, like the simple ones, like as I'm saying, logistic regression,
Right,
simple
right.
regression. Those things are important, and this is very easy. I think you can remember those things.
Right. And like this is it from my side. These are all the basic questions. Any other suggestions that you would like to give us?
Yeah. So one thing I want to point out, like in fact, two things. First, about the coding portion, coding resources I missed last time. So coding resources, I would say, if you are just starting, or the timeline, many of you are concerned with that, when should I start, and theses are also there for many of the MTech students. So
Right.
I would say ki you start as early as possible. If you already have started, then it's well and good. If you have not, start from today. So
Okay.
what resources should you follow? You should first start with Geeks for Geeks must do coding questions. If you search in internet and Google directly, you will get it, that must do coding questions. They have a set of questions around, I think, 50, 100 questions. So those are very basics and very important questions, because question might not come directly from those topics, but whatever question comes is some kind of twist of those questions only. Those are very basics, and I feel you should practice those questions. Second, there's another website called Lead Code. You must already know about Lead Code. So Lead Code has a weekly and bi-weekly competition. So you should join those. I won't say that you will be able to solve all those questions at the very beginning. Don't get disheartened by those. But what it gives you is a timely practice. Like those as an environment which is very similar to the test. Like test, we have 1.5 or 3 questions. They have 1.5 or 4 questions. So if you keep on solving, you will have a gist of how to manage time and how many questions I can really solve in 1.5 hours. So I would strongly recommend this once in a week. So you must do those coding tests from beginning. So this helped me a lot personally. I used to do those. So I would tell you that. And thirdly is time management. How much time should I devote to coding? So as it is very far from now, it is like December is interview, and I think October full-fledged test will be in October, November, right? So I would suggest you should count time. Like I personally prefer to count time, because for any of this kind of competitive coding, competitive test, or any kind of exam, consistency is the biggest factor, I feel. So to keep consistency in this, you should do what? You should count your time. Like if you're reading 2 hours per day, so just have a count. Like you don't need to read 2 hours clock to clock, but at least have at least 2 hour, 1 hour 15 minutes, or 2 hour 10 minutes. At least read every day. Maintain a consistency. Don't do like I'm reading 4 hours a day and next day I'm taking a break, going chill out party. You can do party, but yeah, you got what I'm saying. So try to maintain consistency. Consistency is the biggest factor in this, and try to increase your time slowly. Don't start right away doing coding 8 hours a day. If you can do it, it's good. I'm not saying don't do that, but if you cannot, that's okay. Start with 2 hours, then increase it to 3 hours, 4 hours. Maybe at last you can do 6 hours a day coding. So that should become, because at the starting, at the very beginning, you will have thesis also, those like papers. Many people have paper problem and all those. So I can understand this will be there. So manage both of them. You need to complete your thesis also to join the company. So keep that in mind.
Right, right. Okay, so I think that was very helpful for all of us. If anyone has any doubts that they want Avijit to address, please ask them in the chat box.
In the meantime, when they're asking questions, I want to point out one thing. Many people has the like tendency to like focus towards a specific goal, not I wouldn't say goal, specific profile, that I will only sit for data science and not sit for anything else. I would strongly recommend not to do that, because you don't know which profile will gonna come. Most of the profiles, 90% will be software based only for a CS student and CS related student. So I would say just go for whatever you are getting at the very first. You can later on switch or whatever. You should first solidify your position in the market. Then you should like think about your profile. If you get the profile at the very first attempt, that's the like jackpot for you.
Right. We finally have a question.
Yeah.
Someone is asking, do we need to learn competitive coding for analytics job? So if you have any idea about this, then answer. Otherwise, we can.
Yeah. Sure. Analytics job is another thing. Actually, analytics job and banking jobs like Morgan Stanley, these companies mostly prefer they ask coding, but coding part is comparatively easier than the probability and statistics part. So last year they had a good amount of difficult probability and statistic portion. They have reasoning questions. So if you want to sit for, mostly those are for BTech and dual degree. They don't open for masters. Mostly they don't open for masters, and whichever opens, I don't see much. Last 3 years I have observed, and I don't see many of the companies taking master students. So even if they open, they would mostly go for probabilities and statistics and reasoning. And coding part, if you do for software companies, that should be fine enough for your quant profiles also.
Okay. Next question that we have is, if we are just starting with coding, from which language we should start?
Okay, so for this, I would strongly recommend C++. If you don't know also, if you know any other language, Java or Python, whatever, start with C++ because it has few advantages. Firstly, like C++ is the fastest, one of the fastest, if not the fastest. And if you have some time-bound manner in some company that you have to run this in within 1 second or maybe a few milliseconds, then C++ will always have an edge over other language. Especially I'm saying Python. Python is much slower than C++. And another thing, when you solve the questions, sometimes, most of the times actually, you need answers to those questions. You cannot reinvent the wheel and every time you like discover how to solve a question. You need the solution, and C++ has the highest number of community support. So you will get almost all the solutions in C++. So go for C++. I will strongly recommend. Don't go for Java. Java is also fast, but Java has very bulky, syntax. So I did personally C++. I've seen 70 to 80% people go for C++. So I would say C++. Yeah.
Okay, I think whoever asked it must have been resolved for you. Next question that we have is, in which year of MS did you start coding?
So it depends, like whichever year you are sitting in, it's better to start that year only. I don't need to code for 1.5 years to sit for placements. 4 to 5 months is good enough. So if you're sitting in 2021, so just start now, or if you're sitting next year, so you can start obviously, but it's like if you don't want to, that's okay. You can start next year also.
Okay, so next we have, how beneficial are courses by Andrew NG if you have done them?
Okay, so I believe you are saying about that Coursera basic machine learning course,
I
because
guess.
Andrew NG has many courses. So I would take that into context. So that was a very good course. I have actually started it. I hadn't finished it, but I started it, and it's a very good course. It's in MATLAB, if I remember correctly, MATLAB and Octave. So coding part you might do in Python, but course is very good for basic understanding.
Okay. Next question we have, is it advisable for core branches like chemical, mechanical to prepare for data science? Hello?
I think his network is gone.
Oh, okay. I guess we should wait for him then. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry, I got disconnected. If you can hear me, I can continue.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, sorry about that.
It's okay. It's okay. Um, so next we had a question that whether is it advisable for core branches like chemical, mechanical to prepare for data science? I think a lot of students have this question in mind. So if you know anything about it.
Yeah, it's like there's nothing not advisable. Obviously, if you have interest, it's certainly advisable to prepare for that. Even if you don't get direct opportunity here, in future you will definitely get one opportunity if you crack on software development job. And internal transfers are there inside the company. So yeah, I have seen many people who are like worked in software for 10 years and then switch to data science. So yeah, don't get disheartened. If you have interest, you will get it.
Okay. One more question is there. In placement point of view, what is the difference between MS and MTech?
Oh, no difference really. Nothing. It depends on your DPC. If he can open it for MSR, like our DPC was very good, very proactive. He almost opened everything for MSR, so there's no difference. So
He
depends on
himself
your.
was from MS, right?
Sorry.
He himself was from MS.
Yeah, he himself was from MS. That was an advantage.
And one person is asking how to prepare for Mckenzie, Bain, BCG analyst role. I have no clue what's that.
So yeah, it was like for quant profiles last time I said. So I think you can follow that, like do probability, a lot of probability statistics and like quantitative aptitude. So that would help. And coding is also obviously you will do for software engineering profile. So that would also add on.
Okay. Next up, we have, what's the pathway you would suggest for non-CSE background PG students to land a job at Microsoft and similar companies in general?
Okay, so it's the same. There's no difference between CSE and non-CSE. If they allow you to sit in placements, they don't differ based on your CSE or not non-CSE. If you have the same amount of knowledge or at least similar amount of knowledge and capability, they will obviously choose you also. So most of the important thing is coding. You do coding as much as you can, because most of the people get, uh, stopped in the very first step in the coding part. And another important thing I want to mention is like, for coding part, you will see for the very first companies, first 10-50 companies, you will not see your name. Most of you will not see your name, and those few people who are very extraordinary in coding, they will come up in the first list. So don't get disheartened. What happens is they will get placed on the very first day, first slot, and the every seat will be vacant in every company. So they will come up with a second list, and there's a high chance that you will get into that list. So give every exam very diligently. Don't get disheartened and stop. Like, this is a very big problem. We don't see our name in the very first list, but actually the first list is very common across all the companies, and one guy can get into one company only. So you take care of this.
Right, right. Another question that we have is, do internships matter in placements?
Yeah, certainly internship, they count as a job experience in many companies. So
Okay.
internship has a big role in placement. So you certainly mention them in CV making. Actually, you put your job experience, you put your internship experience, and you put your projects as much as you can. So those three helps a lot. There's only one page CV, so try to avoid your hobbies and all. If you don't have anything, you put hobbies and all, but it's better that in those small space, use as much. It's like selling yourself, right? So this is better. You put your most valued components, like your projects as much as you can, your job experience as much as you can, and your skills, whatever languages, whatever softwares, those kind of things you should put in the CV.
Okay, okay. So did Microsoft allow IME department last year? Someone is asking that.
IME department, I'm not sure about that actually. Should there is, I think, IT Kanpur has a cache of all this information last year what happened, so you can get it through your DPC, and you can check whichever company allowed which department.
Someone is asking, what would you suggest for UG students' core branches to land up at product-based companies?
So first thing I would like to say is most of the companies till day 3 are product based only. So if you can get placed in first 3 days, 4 days, you'll certainly get one of the product based companies. As second, what should UG student do specially? There's nothing really special you can do. You should follow those steps only like the others, and practice as much as you can. Obviously, if you have project in your hand, then you will get a advantage over others. CS related projects.
Right. Okay, so someone is asking that, do you think that your past experience in corporate helped you getting the job?
Yeah, certainly that helps, because as I said, this days companies want 5 years experience from a fresher also. This is the trend nowadays. So as much experience as you have, being it a project experience, being it a internship experience, job experience, everything helps, because it's end of the day coding only. So as much coding as you have done, you can explain it more, and you have corporate experience, then you know better how things work in corporate, and you can answer better than a fresher. So yeah, it certainly helps.
Okay, and in terms of coding questions, which should be preferred, lead code or interview bit?
Okay, so I would say none of them. I would personally say you use in Geeks for Gigs for starting, and lead code for practicing. Interview bit I have done actually, but it is too difficult for like questions to come. It is sometimes gets too complicated questions, and those are not. I haven't got a single question from interview bit across 60 companies. So I won't suggest, but you can practice. Like this, all are same. All questions are same only. There's like variant of a few core questions. So those core questions you will get in Geeks for Geeks. Then you try as many variants as you can.
Okay. So I think that is it. Those were the only questions.
Okay.
If anyone else wants to ask, you can ask right now.
Yeah. Please ask as many questions as you can.
At least my questions were answered, all of them. There were a variety of them.
Okay,
Sure.
Another thing, you can connect me on LinkedIn if you want after this. So yeah, you can ask me if some question pops up in your mind later in time. So yeah, I'm
Yes,
available on LinkedIn.
sure. I'm sure many people are gonna do that after this session. Uh, Someone is asking that how can one apply for internship at Microsoft?
Well, I think one option is there through placement cell only. They offer internship through placement cell. Like they have an internship drive also along with placement drive. So you can get it through them only. And it's a very good option because most of the people get TPO through that.
Oh, okay. So can MS students sit for internship in first placement drive and sit for placement in next placement drive?
Yeah, they can, but they have some, you should confirm with the coordinators, because I asked them and they said if you get selected in some companies, you have to join that company, or not you will be blocked for the placements next year. This is the first thing. Obviously you want to join, but the problem comes in when your guide might not allow you and you are not in a situation to join the company. So that might ruin many of your plans. So be aware of these things. Talk to your guide, talk to the placement coordinators. They can guide you better.
Okay, so one student is asking, you said that some students get into all the shortlist at first. Does that mean it is necessary to be in the first shortlist to get into Microsoft since they come on day one, slot one?
Yeah. In Microsoft, it is kind of compulsory. Day one companies, you won't get second list because they are the first companies now. So it's very rare that day one, slot one companies will have a second list. So you need to get into first list only.
I've prepared DS and Algo. Someone is asking, I prepared DS and Algo in Python as Python is more useful for data science roles. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's okay. I don't think you will have much problem. If you have already done that, no need to switch. You can continue with Python only. It's like if there is 50 companies, 40 of them will allow you in Python. So yeah, you might miss 10, but that's okay. That's fine. You should not face much problem. And actually the interview or any selection process is not based on which language you know. It's based on how much experience you have, how much analytical ability you have. So think about when you try to answer any interview questions, think about that you are owning a company and you are hiring someone. What would you expect them to answer? Then your answer will be perfect for that position. So try to make your answer when you're preparing for interview in such a way that you are the interviewer and you are asking someone that question and what you expect from them to answer. So that is a good way to prepare for HR questions in interview.
Okay. So I think we should wrap it now with just one last question.
Sure.
A student is asking if someone from core branch like mechanical chemical starts preparing, what is easy to do, SD or analyst job?
Well, easy as in such, SD would be easy because easy in the sense that SD has a lot of profiles. Like in 9 days of or 10 days of placement, you will have hundreds of SD profiles. So people, if you know good amount of coding, mechanical, civil, doesn't matter. You will get placed in those companies because everything will be open. CSC student will wrap up in day 3, day 4, and you will have a lot of vacancies there. And if you ask about if quant is easy, then depends on your profile. You already know good code, good probability statistics, then yeah, it might be easy for you. So depends on your profile.
Right. I think others are just repeated questions. So I think we should wrap this up. Avijit, I would like to
Yeah,
thank you
sure.
once again. You did this in spite of, from your job schedule. Thanks a lot. And we are glad to get
No
such a
problem.
good response.